Hey guys, welcome back. In this video I'll show you how I use layer masks to prepare my visuals and during the process to add materials and textures, blend elements together and control the atmosphere. So let's talk about layer masks. That small plain rectangle with a circle in it. But what are they even good for? Let's say I want to add a material. I can just click the mask I need and apply it to my material. So only the part that's really supposed to show stays visible. Just with a few clicks and no need to carefully align the edges and corners. And if you look closer at the material layer, you see a second little window appear right next to the layer thumbnail. That's the layer mask. Black hides the area and white reveals it. And there's everything in between too. Different shades of gray that let you show parts at different levels of opacity. Basically, they let you separate different parts of an image. The sky, vegetation, glass, the building itself. So you can edit each part on its own. Now if you skip masks entirely and try to add a material the old way, you'd have to make sure every material lines up perfectly at every edge and corner. So nothing overlaps and no gaps show up. That might still work for bigger surfaces like ceilings or floors, but the moment you get into more detailed elements, you lose a ton of time just trying to line everything up. Masks are also really useful when you want to blend different image elements together. This little rock, for example, should sit embedded in the grass. First, the white background needs to go. That's quick with Photoshop's automatic background remover. Then I take a grass-shaped brush, set to black, and paint grass cutouts directly into the rock. That basically makes those parts invisible. Masks matter in two moments: when you're getting the image ready for editing and while you're editing. But how do you even create masks? So I found 3 ways to create masks for myself. Let's start with creating them manually, right inside Photoshop. If you're starting from a line drawing or a render that has no channel IDs, there often aren't any masks generated automatically, so you need to create them yourself in Photoshop. One way to do this is creating a new layer for each image element: facade, windows, roof, and so on. And while you've got the original image selected, use the Magic Wand tool to select each area and fill it with a flat color just to keep a clear overview. You can then use these layers as the mask reference for materials and everything else, the same way I showed you before. If the automatic selection doesn't work or some areas are just too details, you always have the option to select with the lasso tool instead. It's more work, but it's a kind of upfront effort that really pays off later in post-production. One more small tip: always make more masks than you think you need. Nothing more annoying than stopping in the middle of your process to cut out some small object with a lasso just to apply a material or texture. If you're rendering in a program that supports it, masks can already be created and exported right inside that program, so you don't need to build them by hand. In Twinmotion, for example, that's done by assigning ID numbers to materials or objects. The export then includes separate mask images alongside the render. Then in Photoshop, you select those with the Color Select tool and use them directly as masks. Most other render engines follow the same idea, just with material or object IDs instead. Alpha channels follow the same idea. They're stored directly in your image file as an extra channel, so you can load them straight as a selection and no separate masked image is needed. Let's say I want to mask this door here. I pick the channel with the highest contrast, which in this case is the red channel. I duplicate the channel and try to isolate the door with as much contrast as possible from everything else around it. Using levels, I push the blacks darker and the whites brighter. Since the door's surface wasn't one even color yet, I grab the burn tool, set to shadows so it only affects the darker areas, and paint until it looks close to one solid tone. From there, it's the same process as before. Magic Wand, then turn the selection into a mask. I've got to be honest, I barely ever use this method, but I figured it's worth showing you anyway. Now once you apply these methods to your own images, you've got a really solid foundation for everything that comes after. As you can see, I've split this into a ton of masks here, furniture and fixed building elements, and yes, I really used every single one of them more than once. So what can you really do with masks? 3 things: materials and textures, blending elements, and atmospheric effects. The most direct use is applying materials and textures to specific objects, so you can change or adjust surfaces with no need to touch the render itself, and everything stays fully editable and repeatable. So let's go back to the example from before. If I want to add a material now, all I need to do is warp it in perspective, then use the matching mask for the floor so the material gets masked automatically, and only the part the mask defines stays visible. Skip that mask and I'd have had to carefully cut around the armchair, the lampstand and every corner of the room by hand. But that's not all. If I notice I need to adjust the material size or perspective, I can just unlink it and make changes with the transform tool without the need to start over or worry about overlapping with other materials. Next, I can use that same mask to make adjustments in color, saturation and so on, and apply them only to the floor. To do that, I click on the mask thumbnail holding the Option key and drag it into the white box of the adjustment layer. Once you want to create transitions between similar or different elements, masks combined with brushes open up a lot of options. The clearest example is blending different vegetation pieces into one cohesive scene. To get there, I grab a brush that matches the grass. Like I showed before, I can now paint over the spots I want to hide in black with the masked rectangle selected on that layer. For atmospheric effects like fog, I use brushes again. First I paint pretty loosely with a fog brush on an empty layer, mostly in the foreground, to build up a kind of fog layer. Then by activating the layer mask and using lower shades of black, I loosen that up again and create different levels of dimension. That gives you control over opacity in specific spots, for textures that should only show up or fade out exactly where you want them to. If you want to see how I use masks from start to finish, check out my other video where I walk you through my whole process to create this visual. Thank you for watching and see you next time.